All right, good afternoon. Let's start with the Heart Sutra for a change. A prostracted iron triple gem. Thusly here at one time, the Bhagavan was dwelling on massive Vajran mountains in Rajguru together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, should look upon like this correctly and repeatedly, beholding the five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics, unproduced, unceased, unsinless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on, not including no mind element, no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, sensation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on the wild perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear, having completely passed beyond error to reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata om gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. And the Bhagavan rose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding in their party along with the gods, Suras and Gandharvas were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. My accumulations I collect and listen to. My intent is Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. But accumulations I collect by listening to the teachings. My intent is state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. But accumulations through generosities. May I attain this state of Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. All right, good afternoon. Madam. Right, so laziness of discouragement. Yesterday we spoke about laziness of being attracted to ignoble activities. We also began with laziness of discouragement. With respect to laziness of being attracted to activities which are unwholesome, ignoble activities, we said that it's particularly in relation to the things that take you away from your Dharma practice. So it applies in a very specific way to us as Dharma practitioners rather than applying it to everyone else, right? So if you've decided that you want to attain the state of liberation, that you want to attain the state of enlightenment, but you still allow things to come in between you and your practice and your spiritual progress, and they take away your attention, your energy, your time, and so forth, which means that you're getting involved with things that are non-dharmic, that's the type of laziness that Shantideva mentions here. And we said that the antidote is thinking of the pleasure that we get from our ignoble activities, just brief, short-lived, and minute comparing to the bliss of liberation and enlightenment. So that's one thing that we cultivate. But also, as we said, this attraction to things that are ignoble also lead to the creation of negative actions that then result in future suffering after this life. So we get limited pleasure in this life, but it comes at a great cost. So that's what we spoke of yesterday with respect to laziness that clings to unwholesome activities. We began yesterday with abandoning the laziness that is disheartened about virtue. And we said, in drawing from Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chemo, which arranges Shantideva's text under slightly different headings. So he followed the same structure, but I think that the headings work better in really delineating what are the things that hold us back in terms of our discouragement. So he says, first of all, you're discouraged about the goal, enlightenment. It seems like too enormous for you to attain. How can someone like me do that? So that's the first type of discouragement. Then discouragement about the means to attain enlightenment, like, for example, having to practice generosity in which you offer limbs of your body for the sake of others. How can someone like me do something as severe as that? Then laziness with respect to the place and duration, place and time that will take you to attain enlightenment. You get so kind of, you think that I still have so long to go in cyclic existence. How can I ever do that? It takes too long. So then those are the things that Shantideva explains in this section of arresting or abandoning laziness of discouragement. I looked at Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation. I find it actually addressing so many different things that sometimes happen to me or that occur to me on the mental level. I find that his presentation in Lamrim Chemo, which is adding more details to what Shantideva says, is really difficult. Is really good, addressing so many thoughts that arise in our mind. So I thought of pulling out some of the things that he says today in our session. So one interesting thing that all of a sudden stood out for me from reading today's section, because I read it also yesterday, but it kind of didn't stand out to me yesterday. But today says that actually if you do fall prey to that sense of discouragement about the goal and thinking, how can someone like me attain the state of enlightenment? It is in breach of your Bodhisattva vow. It will cause you to lose the Bodhisattva vow. Let's look at how it says that. So just a second, I'll just fix. All right, so it says, you might come up with a qualm or a doubt. If the goal is Buddhahood, the total elimination of faults and the total completion of all good qualities, then since it is extremely difficult for me to accomplish even a few good qualities or to remove even a few faults, how could someone like me be capable of attaining such a result? I mean, one of the interesting things about this qualm is that it's very specific. So you might think that it's too hard to attain the state of enlightenment. But we also have other types of laziness of discouragement. Like, for example, it's too hard for me to be patient with those people. It's too hard for me to be patient with that specific individual. It's too hard for me to maintain my ethical discipline because my attachment is so strong that it seems that I cannot really get anywhere with my attachment, right? So it's kind of a lesser type of discouragement. It is discouragement about different stages that you need to attain in order to attain the state of enlightenment. But anyway, if you're discouraged about attaining the state of enlightenment, he says, if such a sense of discouragement manifests, it is a very great fault because it constitutes giving up the mind of enlightenment. It's pretty harsh, isn't it? When you think, how can someone like me attain the state of enlightenment? It's too hard. Bang Lama Tsongkhapa says, it's dangerous because it constitutes relinquishing the mind of enlightenment. So why would you relinquish the mind of enlightenment in? Sorry? Because you think of, maybe I should work on my own liberation rather than enlightenment. Yeah, you're going to think enlightenment is too hard. Maybe I just work in order to liberate myself alone. I guess that also, let's see what it says next. Even if such a thought does not fully manifest, where is it? Even if such a thought does not fully manifest, you must stop it at its incipient stage. So, even if it's not a full-blown discouragement about the mind of enlightenment, which what will cause you then, I think, as Jason said, to kind of think that it's too hard, I will never be able to do that. Therefore, I should attain the state of liberation. You should stop it at an incipient stage because it might be that you end up thinking at the end that it's too hard. So whenever you notice that you start to become discouraged, Lama Tsongkhapa says, this is where you need to start to pay attention.
I find it difficult. Like, I was chatting to a friend whose husband is, not going well and getting closer to death, etc. And I said, well, the good thing is that you can surely say that you two are on the right side of the wheel of life. You're on the way up. You're not on the going down. And they go, oh yes, so I hope that's the case. Now, why do we even say that? So I mean, where does humility? When should we just not be humble and just say, yeah, thank goodness we are. Rather than just acknowledging, yes, I am working towards enlightenment and stuff. I find it difficult.
So it's a great point that you made, because in Lama Tsongkhapa's presentation, he also has a particular section that refers to having the right assessment of where we are, where we're going, which I thought that it's really pertinent in terms of our approach to working with discouragement, but also have a better assessment of where we are. So we'll get to that maybe in a couple of minutes. Or 5. Yeah, whatever. In this session. So then it says how to stop it. So we spoke yesterday about, first of all, recognizing a Buddha nature. In order to encourage yourself to be able to attain the state of enlightenment. But Lama Tsongkhapa here again adds a couple of points to that. So it's not that I separate to the recognition of Buddha nature, but I thought it's just giving us more to work with in terms of not becoming discouraged. So he of course quotes from Shantideva's, those verses that we've covered yesterday from Shantideva's text, how could I attain enlightenment? I should not indulge in such discouragement, for the truth declaring Tathagata has spoken this truth. Even flies, mosquitoes, bees, and worms will attain unsurpassed enlightenment, so hard to attain, once they generate the power of perseverance. Why should someone like me, born into the human race, recognizing benefit and harm, not attain enlightenment, as long as I do not give up these Bodhisattva deeds? So, not only we recognize here Lama Tsongkhapa doesn't speak directly about recognizing a Buddha nature, but what he says is, when you look at in the following paragraph, it says that you actually recognize that there were past Buddhas, there are present Buddhas, and there will be future Buddhas that will attain the state of enlightenment. which means that they haven't started off as being Buddhas right from the beginning, but they started off as being just like you. They start off with the same baseline of being an ordinary sentient being. If they can do that, why can't we do that? So that's that's one point that we add to just recognizing a Buddha nature. So we recognize that we have the potential to do it because we have Buddha nature. Another point is that if others do it, what's special about me that I can't do it? Right. So it's slightly a different take on your Buddha nature. It's not different, but it's just giving us a different angle. And then it says, as to this discouragement, since the Buddha's good qualities are infinite and follow from causes, you must accomplish good qualities and remove faults through limitless avenues while on the path. After you have understood this well, you may become discouraged when you take a look at yourself. So Lama Tsongkhapa says, when you discover that you have limited qualities and you're still pretty much bogged in your afflictive states of mind and negative actions, you might get discouraged. However, this particular discouragement will never arise at a time like the present, when an enormous understanding of the path is in operation. Now, when practicing to attain limitless Buddha qualities, you suppose they are achieved by one-sidedly pursuing just a single small portion of quality and intensively work on it. Yet, in this case, you're not getting discouraged is not a good sign. So this is what this is how I wanted to link it up to the point that you brought up, Dechin. So it says that you might get discouraged, or you might not get discouraged because your view is actually quite limited. If you have a good understanding of the path in its entirety, you will not get discouraged. But if you don't have that good overview of the path and also be able to assess where you are along the path, you might either invest a small single-minded effort in a particular aspect of the path, be able to do it to a reasonable degree and not then have no discouragement whatsoever, but the lack of discouragement is on account of actually not knowing what you need to do. So it's you might not be discouraged, but it's not a great thing because you actually don't have a good understanding of what you need to do in order to get to the state of enlightenment. So it says, yet in this case, you're getting discouraged. You're not getting discouraged is not a good sign. Rather, it is a result of your not being certain about how to proceed on the path, or having a rough understanding but not putting it into practice. So you're confused by its apparent ease. Right? You think that it's going to be easy. Don't worry about it. Now it just can just going to relax, do some practice here and there, accumulate mantras here and there. It's going to be easy. Soon enough I'll attain the state of enlightenment. So you don't get discouraged because of not really getting how hard it is to attain the state of enlightenment. And it's not a good thing, Lama Tsongkhapa says. For when you come up against the practice and receive an explanation of a fairly complete outline of the path, roughly arranged from beginning to end, you say, if that much is needed, who can do it? And thoroughly give it up. So this is what happens sometimes when you start to unravel the steps of the path in an in-depth way, right? So for example, we take up a lumbering course, which is a great thing in terms of, we take up a lumbering course in terms of getting a good introduction to the steps of the path. And on the surface, everything seems to us to be workable, reasonable, easy to apply, also very inspiring. So it might seem that it wouldn't be that difficult to attain the state of enlightenment. But then when you start to look at the fine details, you can get scared. And particularly when you think of getting an explanation that is based on the ornament, which is such a massive mind map. And then looking at the middle way study and all the different views explained by different schools of thought, then you can get really daunted, like, how will I ever be able to do it? So here you're getting a little bit discouraged, but it seems that it's almost like a necessary, I wouldn't say necessary step of evolution, but it's not unlikely that it will happen because it's a sign that you're developing knowledge and understanding of what the task is. So Lama Tsongkhapa says, sorry. Sorry, my thing is a bit unwilling. So it draws from Sharawa's writing, which is quite small. He says, for bodhisattvas who have not engaged in practice at all, for bodhisattvas who have not engaged in practice, all the bodhisattva deeds seem easy, like looking at a target from errors. And they do not even get discouraged. At present, we lack a complete practice of the teaching, so we have not even reached the level at which we would have discouragement or self-contempt. But we more fully appreciate the teachings, when we more fully appreciate the teachings, then there is great danger of discouragement and self-contempt. Really, I need glasses. I can barely see that. Yeah, this is quite true. Sorry? Yeah, it's tiny.
So if you're feeling like it's all too hard, it means that we're actually practicing.
Yeah, well, I think that definitely when you feel that it's all too hard, it means that you're implementing it and then you face up with adversities and you feel that it's pretty hard. This is the time to kind of pull out all the antidotes and things to encourage us, like having Buddha nature. Why can someone like me not do it? If I accumulate the causes and conditions for that, I will be able to do that.
Yeah, it seems what you're saying, what's being said in the text there is that we don't have discouragement at the start. We really haven't, we're only on the surface level, we haven't really done any practices and thought, oh, this is actually pretty hard.
Yeah.
But then when you actually dive into some of the practices and you start to realize how hard it is to sort of to steer the mind into virtue and keep it there all the time. I think it does make sense that discouragement will come up easy because it's like you start to get the hard stuff.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I look at the attitude that we have as Western Dharma students, or not necessarily Western, people that came outside of the Tibetan tradition. Now, we sometimes get we become a bit uptight and really strung out about some of the things that we need to do. We get overwhelmed about what we need to do. When you look at the attitude that you have in Tibetan society, or particularly in monastic society, either in the great monasteries, and when you look at other traditions, I think that there is kind of more easing into your way of practicing and basically living the path, because I think that there's that understanding that the task is enormous. If you're going to get so stressed about little bits that you encounter along the way, or different things that currently seem to be quite difficult for you to do, it's not going to be helpful. So sometimes it seems that the attitude is rather too relaxed, but I think that it's attributed probably to understanding that it is a great task. It's going to take many lifetimes, so just keep on chipping the afflicted states of mind bit by bit, and don't get too uptight, don't get discouraged.
I wonder too if that, what you just said, is also with Eastern cultures, especially Tibet, it was sort of renowned for being quite relaxed and nomadic, and sort of have very slow minds, where in the West we have very fast minds, and our education system's structured in a way that we're all encouraged to be competitive. And it seems like when, at least for me, when I engage the Dharma at the start, so you've got to get there fast, and got to figure it all out, and it's almost honest, like I've learned the way to do that at the start when I was in school. We had to sort of compete and stuff like that.
Yeah, certainly. Cultural conditioning does play a role.
Yeah.
Cultural conditioning, educational conditioning does play a role in how we approach the study of the Buddha Dharma and putting a pressure on ourselves to understand it quickly, to implement it quickly, to attain quick results. Otherwise, kind of, we're not smart enough, we're not good enough, we're not good practitioners enough, and so forth. Yeah. There are a couple of questions that came up here. Let's look at. So Shannon says, in regards to discouragement, considering the teachings this morning where Geshe is pointed out we're being suckling in suffering for countless eons, did he say that unless we practice Dharma perfectly, we will not attain enlightenment? I think that, as far as I remember, he did say that, unless we practice Dharma perfectly. Now, to say unless we practice Dharma perfectly does not mean to say that unless we practice the Dharma perfectly now, in the sense that at the end, in order to attain the state of enlightenment, obviously you need perfect Dharma practice, in the sense that you will need to integrate calm abiding and special insight. You need to rid yourself of the 8 worldly concerns. You need to see all the drawbacks of cyclic existence. And Lama Tsongkhapa said in his 3 principal aspects, when there's no attraction that is generated for even a second to the excellences of samsara, to the perfection of samsara, and day and night you have a mind that persists a state of liberation, this is when you have developed renunciation. So that is also a mark of, you can say, perfect practice. But obviously we're not there yet. At least I'm not there yet. So it doesn't mean to say that my practice is not good. It's more like I'm building up to a good practice. But unless I start where I am at the moment and build it up, how will I ever get to perfect practice? Tears of healthy discouragement. That's nice. No, I think that he did say something like that, as far as I remember.
But it makes sense as you get closer to enlightenment, your practice would become more and more refined and clean and mirror-like until you actually just about to become enlightened.
What is good advice?
Once when a certain practice seemed overwhelming, I asked a Gyuto monk for advice, and he was told relax, chillax, many lifetimes to practice. Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I really heard loud and clear today is that the deeper our understanding of karma is, the easier it will be to practice.
Yeah.
You know, by really understanding the machinations of it all.
So it's hard to understand the mechanics of karma in great details, in that we have things that we work with. Like, for example, at a very basic, causes and conditions produce effects. Then karma actions, which are causes, produce certain effects. Then we study the 4 general characteristics of karma, and Geshe mentioned 2 of them today, right? So karma is certain, karma magnifies actions that you've done. Sorry, you do not experience the results of actions that you've not done, and actions done do not go to waste. Then we'll look at the 10 non-virtues, and opposite to that, the 10 virtues. So we're starting to get into greater details. And then along the way, we get more information about, for example, how certain afflictive states of mind contribute to certain states of rebirth within the visible realms, or how guiding ethics in this way will contribute to this particular effect within precious human rebirth with friends and opportunity. But it's not giving you like a really detailed explanation of the mechanism of karma. It's more like still, I think that it helps to build trust in the working of karma. And I think that Geshe spoke mainly about how we develop this absolute conviction in the working of karma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And you know, it's really important, I think, the more you understand about karma, perhaps, I really like the conversation about, you know, with karma, you know, thing that underlays it is that the number of lives we have already lived.
Yeah.
And the number of lives, if we don't keep on, you know, heading in the right direction, that we're going to continue to live. And so, you know, we happen to be in this human realm now, and, you know, of course, we're experiencing suffering because that's the nature of this human realm, but it doesn't compare to anything we have experienced in the lower realms or would be experiencing as an animal.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's so important to be both, you know, for me, and the way I can just become so caught up with my own suffering, to remember that, like, it doesn't compare to what we've experienced in other, and the suffering that we've experienced in this world realm is quite negligent, and you know, we've created the causes. You know, it's not as though any of this is by accident or anything like that. It's all because of karma.
Yeah.
And I guess it is complicated that those general rules always apply. Like, we can't actually explain it for projecting it or anything like that. But I think we can perhaps explain it retrospectively. Like, you know, like, I've not experienced anything I haven't already done. You know, we know that's a fact. That's an absolute fact. Yeah, and but to sort of just say, what will I experience in the future? We don't really know, but we can perhaps say we're heading in an upward direction.
Hopefully,
the wheel of life, the white and the black.
Yeah.
That's what that symbol. The white, you're heading up. If you're on the black side, you're heading down.
I mean, when you consider that from the viewpoint of a precious human rebirth, so, and how difficult it is to find precious human rebirth. So look at ourselves here and look at the people at home, you know, so all of us, you know, such a small minority in Australian society in general, but also in human society more globally. And we are interested in how to adopt ethical discipline, how to abstain from non-virtuous actions. You know, we have that common goal or common ideas of how do we progress better and better, you know, to a higher and higher state. So it's hard to avoid negative actions, but in some sense, comparing to others, we're at least going in one positive direction. It's not always in utmost successful way, but I think that all things considered, probably we're doing better than many other people in this planet. I mean, still we can do better. We can abstain better from non-virtuous actions, from negativities, but altogether it sounds as a thing that we can tap ourselves on the shoulders and encourage ourselves that we're not doing that badly. Particularly when, as I said, when you consider that from the perspective of many lifetimes. We've created cause and conditions that enabled us to meet the Dharma, to turn the mind towards the Dharma, try as much as possible to take up positive states. So it's a good thing. You know, it's a good result. We can enhance that.
And I mean, you know, just with the reading that I've been doing with the links and the discussion that we have had, is that, you know, there's karmic formation, so, you know, forming a karmic seed, and then there's completing karma, and then there's karmic resulting karma.
Yeah.
And I mean, that fills in the colors and everything else. I mean, that I think is a big part of karma that is difficult to understand, but yet it's a very big part of karma, resulting karma. Because, you know, karmic formation is just a small, so it's one completed, you know, with having the intention, following through with the intention, rejoicing, and having no regret. That makes it
creating causes for a particular thing.
Yeah.
You know, fully potent cause.
That's it. That makes it a throwing karma then, doesn't it? And then you have the completing karma, is when you end up being born in the hell realm, or, you know, whatever, the completing of that. And then you have resulting karma, which sort of is all in the middle of that, which would be a result of habitual habits.
Ah, yeah. You mean results similar to the cause? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
would. Yeah.
Isn't it like really hard to realize karma?
Sorry?
To realize.
It is hard to realize kind of all the ins and outs, all the subtleties of karma. This is something that only a Buddha does. But I guess along the way you discover more and more layers of karma.
Well, it's about having more and more faith in it, isn't it? Knowing that you do certain results, that you do certain actions, you will get a certain result. That's what I was trying to say then. Resulting karma is a result related to the cause.
Yeah. All right, so we've covered the first type of discouragement, which is discouragement about the goal. Then there's discouragement about what you will have to experience while pursuing the means for attaining that goal. So it is unreasonable to bear. So it is reasonable to bear the hardships of a company working to attain enlightenment, for they're not even a fraction of those of the lower realms suffering. So we touched upon that. I think that this is also what you said, Dechen, about kind of, it's hard now, but considering past and future lifetimes, it's nothing in comparison. And also this is what Geshe said today. But then it is unreasonable to fear the hardships of giving up one's arms, legs, and so forth. One does not need to experience even a fraction of the lower realms suffering. And an analogy illustrating the reasonableness of bearing minor sufferings in order to destroy the great disease. So I wanted to do a couple of things, to look at so to look at this book, The Nectar of Manjushri's Speech, in page 242, at the bottom of the page, in relation to verse 25. Let's read verse 25. Sorry? Yeah, I jumped. So I jumped. I did a great leap forward. So, yeah. I did a great leap forward. So let's read through those verses. So having to give away my legs, arms, and so forth frightens me. So response: without analyzing what is heavy and what is light, I'm reduced to fear through confusion. Over countless billions of years, I will be cut, stabbed, burnt, and chopped up many times, but I will not attain enlightenment. Yet this suffering for my accomplishing enlightenment will have a limit. It is like the suffering of having an incision made in order to eliminate the harm of pain, destroying it inside. So when this verse says, over countless billions of years, I will be cut, stabbed, burnt, and chopped up many times, but I will not attain enlightenment. So that's considering what occurs to living beings in miserable states of existence. So I think that maybe I told you the story before of visiting an island in China called Putoshan, which is holy for Chenrezig. So you have tens of thousands of Chinese going to that island every day, basically, to visit different temples dedicated for Chenrezig. But it's also famous for, it's in an island, so it's famous for seafood. So it's really weird because people go on pilgrimage for Chenrezig or Kuan Yin, the Buddha of compassion, and then the feast on seafood. Yeah. But I remember that we were when I was there a few times, and one of the times we went out to a restaurant, of course, vegetarian restaurant, and we were eating vegetarian food, and in the table next to us, they were having seafood, and you have bowls of octopus and shellfish and prawns and lobsters and fish and eels all over the restaurant, and people just pick up those different animals, and just next to me, someone picked up an octopus. So they chose their octopus, and then it immediately went on the chopping board, and as its legs were still pumping, it was just being cut, basically. So, whenever kind of I hear verses like that, it reminds me kind of this thing of over countless billions of years, I will be cut, stabbed, burned, and chopped up many times, but I will not attain enlightenment. I mean, so it is hard. So when you think of, sorry? Yeah. So when you think of being discouraged about hardships that we encounter when we practice the Dharma, it's nothing in comparison to that kind of suffering that we would experience in miserable states of existence. But also kind of when I read through that section today at home, I thought that for those of us here that have decided to become monastic, some people see that as like a great sacrifice. Sometimes it's interesting, even when I sometimes have conversations with Chinese or Taiwanese friends, some of them ask me, what was so traumatic in my life that caused me to seek ordination, as if kind of only if I face personal disaster, if it's still a problem, then I can become ordained. Otherwise, why go for that? Whereas when you think of it from the opposite side, actually, how many times have we been cut, chopped, burnt, and so forth? And why would you want to do it again and again and again if you have an opportunity to actually invest in virtue and pursue greater and greater states, right? So you don't have to experience a certain trauma in order to train your mind. You don't have to experience difficulties in order to decide to train in ethical discipline. And when it becomes harder, you can also think that actually the other options are much worse. Continuing in samsara is way worse than trying to maintain ethical discipline, which is not worse at all. I don't know if it makes sense, but anyway. So
your point with the
I don't know what my point was.
with the Manjushri's nectar, verse 25,
Yeah.
where you took the
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, sister. All right. We haven't got to that yet. Yet this suffering for my accomplishing enlightenment will have a limit. It is like the suffering of having an incision made in order to eliminate the harm of pain, destroying it inside. Even all doctors eliminate illness with unpleasant medical treatments. So in order to overcome manifold sufferings, I should put up with little discomfort. This always makes me think of, sometimes when you think of the pain in having a tattoo or cosmetic surgery, I mean, people willing to put up with that. So why wouldn't you put up with hardships when you practice something that exceeds, that goes beyond this life? But the Supreme Physician does not employ such ordinary remedies. With a gentle procedure, he remedies the boundless great ailments. So this is where I jump to verse 25. That someone says, actually, cutting parts of your body when you offer it is not a gentle procedure. It's actually quite a radical procedure. So in this book, it says, of course, people will wonder how the giving away of one's flesh can be described as a gentle treatment. The answer is that there is no need to do this in the beginning. When people are completely incapable of being generous, they must train themselves by passing something from the right hand to the left hand back and again, thus gradually getting used to the act of giving. So I thought that this is actually we've had it before, but I've never done it myself, in the sense that I've never trained myself in giving something from my left arm to my right arm or hand before giving it away to others. But then I thought that actually it might be with things that are difficult to give, things I'm really attached to, maybe it's a good thing to try. Give it to myself rather than giving it to others before. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it says, so first of all, you try by passing something from your right hand to the left and back again, thus gradually getting used to the act of giving. They should think to themselves that they are truly giving, accompanying their gesture with verbal expression. So think about it. Imagine the situation when you're giving it from from one hand to the next and thinking that I'm really giving it now, and that's really good. Giving it away, and you still, yeah. But I think in some sense, if you try to emulate the mental sensation or kind of this thing of how it'd be like to give it away, it's probably still very useful. Subsequently, they should make little gifts of food to others, fragrant herbs, and so forth. For this is what the Buddhas, who guides being along the gradual path, instructs us to do at the outset. Gradually, as we acquire the habit, we will be able to give more and more until at length the time will come when we are able to make the great gift of our flesh and blood without holding anything back. So first of all, it says, if you're freaking out about giving away parts of your body, then Shantideva says, hold on, start small, get used to things that are smaller, train yourself in giving them up before you go to more radical things like giving away your own body. Sorry? Yeah, just give your pinkies rather than your thumb. Yeah.
I must admit, they seem to spend a fair bit of time talking about dismembering your body and giving it away. Like, it's just not a part of our culture at all. Like, I'm trying to understand why they are spending so much time talking about dismembering your body and giving it away.
Because we identify with it very strongly.
So in India, what does that mean? They don't identify with their body so strongly.
We all do as human beings. Like we're so material. This is us. This is all that exists. And so if you can give it away, then you can dispel the ego into grasping, which is the whole point of
I mean, that's what the Kusali comes in.
And it's in little things
So
that
they
they
show
show
the
that
other
other death we have to give it away.
Yes.
And so if we can do that now, then we can practice at the time of death and so we can
But also, this section deals with discouragement. So suppose that you hear about enlightenment. And again, it is relevant to having taken the Bodhisattva vow and then finding out what you need to do. Or finding out in greater details what you need to do. So you can become discouraged about your ability to attain the state of enlightenment. So we've covered that. Then you can become discouraged about what you need to do in order to get there. So not only having to spend so many lifetimes practicing, but also through your practice, it is said you have to give away even bits of your own body for the sake of others. So if you haven't trained yourself in the attitude of giving, at the very beginning, you might think that it's impossible. How could anyone do that? How could anyone give away parts of their own body? So here Shantideva first of all says, actually, in the commentary, first of all, if you build that habits beginning with the small, and then you increase that, at some point you can become habituated with giving to the point in which you give away your body. So if the doubt comes at the beginning that it is impossible to do it through familiarity, it will be possible. But also then it is stipulated, as we said before, that you're not permitted to give away parts of your own body until the time comes to do it. Do you remember what was the mark for being permitted to give away your own body? We spoke about it a few months ago, a few weeks ago. You see it as a vegetable. And also, we spoke about when compassion is pure. Do you remember? Only when one's compassion is pure, then you're permitted to give away your body. And we said that pure compassion means that you've generated uncontrived compassion for sentient beings. Then you are permitted to give away your body. Before you've generated uncontrived compassion, you're not permitted to give away your body, because then a sense of regret might come up in your mind. And then we also discussed the point that says that when you reach the path of seeing, which means when you become an Arya Bodhisattva, there's no longer physical pain that is involved with giving away your own body. So if there's no physical pain, there will also be no mental pain. before that, when you're ordinary Bodhisattva, there might be some physical pain or discomfort when giving away parts of your body, but your mind would be so enthused by uncontrolled compassion, uncontrolled bodhicitta, that your physical discomfort or pain will be less than your mental joy in doing that. So I was having a conversation today with Geshe Tsultrim and Kathy. We're speaking about some of the plans for next year. And we've mentioned again that story of Lama Sovereign, which is sitting at Bodh Gaya, either without his shirt or just his arm, and completely giving his blood to mosquitoes. For anyone who's been to India, Bodh Gaya, and experienced those, I wouldn't say vicious mosquitoes, but there's an onslaught of mosquitoes during the rainy season. And after that, when I find myself surrounded by mosquitoes, I just can't bear it.
Yeah.
It's I can't sit still. Even if I try to think of, it's nice to give my blood to mosquitoes and so forth, still there's this disquieting sense of discomfort in doing that. So when you think of, I don't know what's happening in Lama Sovereign, which is mine, but when I think of this willingness to give away parts of your body, to give away your blood without finding that to be completely uncomfortable and disquieting, then you are permitted to do that. So, in the Lamrim Chemo, stopping discourse. Sorry? Yeah, volume 2. So stopping discouragement about the means to attain the goal. Says, to accomplish Buddhahood, you have to give away your feet, hands, and so forth, but not capable of such feats. The reply is that you must bear suffering to that extent, for even those who live as they please without engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds experience, as they pass through cyclic existence, unspeakable suffering, such as having the bodies cut open, torn to pieces, stabbed, set on fire, and so forth, but they do not accomplish even their own welfare. The suffering accompanied by undergoing hardships for the sake of enlightenment is not even a fraction of this suffering, and also has the great purpose of accomplishing both your own and others' welfare. So we do sometimes get discouraged and thinking this is too hard, but when you think of the prospect of remaining in cyclic existence in miserable realms, actually, it's better to experience hardships now than much worse in the future. With respect to giving away your body, you do not give it in the beginning when you are afraid, but through graduated training in generosity, you end your attachment to your body. Once you have increased the strength of your great compassion, you have no difficulty when you give it away, provided it is for a great purpose. But I think that we can also think of not only giving away our own body. When you think of the difficulties in guarding ethics, the difficulties in guarding patience and so forth, because sometimes when you come across Buddhism, you think that there's no way I'll be able to become a monk. There's no way I could become a nun. There's no way I could be patient with a harm doer and so forth. So when you take this sentiment of what Lama Tsongkhapa says here, then it says start small. Train yourself in small things. If you're thinking of ethical discipline, rather than thinking right now that there's no way I could ever become a monk or a nun, start with the things that you can at the moment. Even as far as taking up the 5 lay vows, or the 5 lay precepts. So you take the refuge vow, and you can decide to abstain from killing, stealing, alcohol, and so forth gradually. And that you give up what you can at the moment and train in order to give up more things in the future. This is an advice that is often given. And also with patience, right? Rather than being patient with, trying to be patient now with the most horrible person ever. An advice that was given previously was try to be patient, first of all, with smaller things that bother us to a lesser degree, but then still cultivating, increasing your patience with respect to them. If you bear with small things, you will be able to bear later on with things that are much more significant. So, some say that since practitioners of the perfection vehicle must give away their bodies and lives, they undergo torment and are on the path that is very difficult to follow. This text clearly refutes this, because you do not give away your body so long as you perceive it to be a difficult deed, but rather do so once it becomes very easy, like giving a vegetable. So the third type of discouragement that we want to stop is discouragement about how long will it take us to do it, to attain the state of enlightenment or liberation, and having to experience great suffering in samsara for as long as we remain in samsara. I mean, in some sense, you could say that, well, what's the alternative? It's like the alternative is either work hard and at some point get out of samsara, or not work out and just remain in samsara. There's no third option here, right? There's no other way to live samsara rather than hard work and experiencing hardship. So,
Do you reckon you could choose a realm to remain in?
well, you can choose to attain a state of, you can attain a state of absorption and get a temporary relief.
Spend a long time there.
Yeah, but then, it says that you also kind of burn a lot of merit.
Yeah.
So then you fall down and kind of you have to do a lot of hard work to get back to a certain workable baseline. So then it says there is no suffering in that, and happiness increases. Therefore, it is reasonable to take joy in that. So point A, although there is physical and mental discomfort for a person unknowledgeable in the states of accomplishing that path, there is no suffering from such hardships for one who is knowledgeable, in verse 27. This is kind of where I think that I can link it directly with that story of Lama Zopa Rinpoche feeding his body to mosquitoes, right? So if a person is skillful, there's no suffering. There is actually mental happiness in practicing and fulfilling the purpose of others. For someone that is unskillful, indeed it is hard. And therefore it says, for a great being, there is no cause for despairing in the prospect of remaining in cyclic existence. So this is where the third type of discouragement comes up. So Lama Tsongkhapa says, did he get malaria? I don't think so. So reaching Buddhahood requires taking limitless rebirth in cyclic existence, so I will be harmed by the sufferings therein. I'm not capable of such a thing. So the reply is, reflect as follows. Bodhisattvas have eliminated all negativities, all sins. Therefore, sins effects, the feeling of suffering, will not arise because they have stopped the cause. Through firm knowledge that cyclic existence lacks an intrinsic nature like a magician's illusion, they also have no mental suffering. Given that their physical and mental bliss increases, they have no reason to become disheartened, even though they are still in cyclic existence. So I think that if we summarize that, the other alternative is samsara. Remaining in samsara where suffering continues. If you practice like bodhisattvas, even if it takes you for a long time, you're making a progress. If you're making a progress, you have less suffering and more comfort, more happiness. So that's one point. But still, kind of, I'm running out of time. So I think that still towards the end of this section, there's it says, likewise, do not become discouraged even by being delayed in cyclic existence for an immeasurable length of time, because a long length of time is not in itself a reason to be disheartened. If suffering is extremely intense, even a brief period of it is disheartening. But if there is no suffering and you're happy, even a long time is not disheartening. So if you develop a bodhisattva attitude where you think that sincerely, I want to fulfill the purpose of suffering sentient beings, and when you help sentient beings, it makes you happy, then even in samsara, you'll find happiness in working for the sake of others. So it seems that this is what this section says. There was another section that belongs to this. Anyway, it's 4 o'clock, so maybe I'll mention it next week because it's also related to the point that Dechin brought up at the beginning of this session, where kind of you're still moving up. Sometimes you get discouraged about your practice. Sometimes you think that you're still moving in a positive direction. So Lama Tsongkhapa explained it in a really nice way. Let's cover that on next Tuesday, because tomorrow we have Guru Puja in the morning. Afternoon, we have teaching with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and then in the evening, another teaching session with Geshe-la. So we'll get to look at that on next week.
Could I ask you a question quickly, Carson?
Definitely.
Tomorrow, I'm coming out tomorrow. Do I have to bring my own food or lunch and everything tomorrow, or is it going to be available?
Yeah. I think that bring your own lunch. So we'll have. I think that there is some lunch provided for the Sangha, but I think that it's like a last-minute arrangement from today or yesterday. So
yeah, there won't be enough.
And it's sponsored by Lama Sopa Rinpoche. So please bring your lunch, and all of us will have after the puja, I guess lunch and coffee at a cafe. It's going to be good.
No worries. Sounds great.
Make the cafe great again.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you all.
Have you posted your last notes yet? No, I haven't. I will do it soon.
Adios. Adios.
Due to this virtue, I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious Supreme Bodhisattva not yet born arise. May that reason not decline but increase more and more. In this land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chamrezi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. You uphold the subduer's moral ways, as in the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine. O masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, protector of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. So when you say this, did this what you meant? Was there another comment or? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, people.